Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome back to the show where we're bringing you the latest in AI news and sharing our views. So we're not going to, if you watched yesterday's video, we said we might talk about the budget, but you know what? It's so boring and dull. I was listening to it, on the live TV feeds, and you know what? It was just, I couldn't cope more than about 2 minutes. It was painful to watch. I waited for everything just to be summarized nice and easily so we could just consume it. But let's not dwell any more on it. There's not a lot to talk about. It's a bit boring, usual story. You've heard it all before the press. So let's dive into AI news. Let's dive into the future world. Let's talk about positive things. Although this isn't necessarily positive.
I was going to say, this isn't a very positive thing, though, to be honest with you.
No, but it's important that people are aware of. And we hear about these stories, which we'll share with you in a moment. But I just think it's important for people just to really tune into it and not to just give all their trust to these big corporations. And we talk about privacy and security a lot. Yeah, Will, what's the story?
This is something that I woke up to find, as I'm sure you did. Obviously, you text me, and it's been, and you'll see from the date stamp. This we're bringing you the bleeding edge of news here today. This is not a few days out of date. This was published 52 seconds ago. We're right on the edge here.
Mate, we're bringing you the latest news, gang. So come on,
this truly
give us a
is
like.
the latest
You got to
news.
appreciate this. On the pulse.
On the pulse. So this has been an unfortunate circumstance for OpenAI. Another unfortunate circumstance for OpenAI. There seems to be a few for them. Yeah, I know. Another one. This is another security problem. OpenAI reveals analytics data breach. And they've notified affected users, which is nice of them. It's almost the least they can do. Now, this isn't a data breach specifically with OpenAI's systems, but one of their third-party providers, a company called Mixpanel, which provides analytics. It doesn't really go into how it provides analytics or what it provides analytics on, other than data associated with the API platform, which is a humongous platform for OpenAI. I mean, that is... their main business is selling access to their API as well as ChatGPT. And Mixpanel had a data breach, which they became aware of on November 9th, and they notified that they had an unauthorized access to parts of their systems, exporting datasets containing limited customer identifier information, analytics data. They always say limited customer, and I suppose it is, but still worrying when I get to what was actually leaked. And the analytics provider, so Mixpanel, notified OpenAI that they were investigating. On November 25th, they shared the affected dataset with the AI company. And within that, it was basically any user profile data that was associated with the platform.openai.com subdomain, and it included the name that was provided on the OpenAI API account, the email address associated, the approximate course location, city, state, country kind of thing, operating system, referring websites, and of course a bit more about the organization or user IDs associated with the API account. And OpenAI went ahead and terminated their use of Mixpanel once this was reported, but the damage has already been done. And I think this is just another stark lesson in terms of privacy and the importance of privacy and security. Is yes, OpenAI will make the case that they've terminated the relationship. They have notified affected users. It's not in their system, but the issue is that their customer data has been leaked. And this is the thing: when you're a user, you have to trust that whatever third party you're using is going to be sensible, but you also don't know what third parties they're using. And this is the classic consequence of that. And this is why, especially within the domain of AI, this is a major reason why we're so big on privacy, I think, because there you go. Next time it could be chat data. This time it wasn't. It was, email addresses are bad enough, but who knows what happens next time.
Well, this is it, Will. And there was a few comments on Reddit saying things like, well, why are names being sort of included in that data set that's being shared? Surely they can anonymize or whatever. So it's just another example that we've seen time and time again. And I don't know. I think Joe Public, if I'm honest with you, are just sort of, are they numb to it? Do they care? They still trust these companies. That's what's wild, is they just, keep, subscribing and using their platforms and all the rest of it. There doesn't seem to be a real I don't know, sort of backlash. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's just interesting because, again, you just compiled a quick list of, just all the major hacks or leaks, data leaks and vendor
I'll
leaks
bring it up.
of 2025, until you actually start listing these out. Because, again, you hear a bit of news, oh no, that's really, really bad. And then the news cycle moves on and there's something else to focus on, and suddenly this is old news. But when you actually, have a quick look at just 2025, and we haven't, we're in November, end of November, there's a significant number. And I think it's a really good point as well, Will, what you bring up is that people need to be aware that it's not just, the direct breaches of the companies, which could be like actual failures internally, but also sometimes bad actors working inside the companies. But often it's actually the third party vendors that these companies use, because, again, don't forget, guys, companies still, they don't do everything themselves. They sometimes buy services and products and utility from other companies that, like this example is analytics. So it's although you might think this company's trustworthy and they're going to be protecting my data the best they can, but what about all the other vendors? Are you aware of all their sort of, who they are and all that sort of stuff? And again, it's just about transparency. I mean, I know from a business perspective, it's unrealistic to inform everybody of all your vendors that you're going to be using, but maybe that's something that should be done. I don't know, but it's just ultimately, I think the high level story is it's just the danger of centralization. And when we think about, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of posts on X about the UK bringing in digital IDs. I mean, that screams to me, I mean, Big Brother dystopian hell. But also just what a honeypot it is for, for hackers, for, you can guarantee data is going to be leaked from whenever, if ever they do this. And, we can't necessarily trust big companies, big entities, big government to look after and manage our data. Things will be leaked, will be lost, and will be abused. And I think it's just, this digital ID in the UK, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, what's your thoughts, Will?
I think, I completely agree with most of your thoughts. I don't think that I'm going to be I don't think I want people to be naive enough for me to tell them that they shouldn't sign up to services and use services. I mean, and that's just not realistic. Nor do I think that it's realistic for a service provider to list all of their subs, their third parties that they use. I don't know what can be done necessarily about that. I think the key thing is the tale that is as old as time itself when it comes to these things, is obviously just be careful what you're putting into these systems. Something like Gemini or ChatGPT, be careful what you're putting in. You don't know where it's going. We can't trust it. It's a new frontier. And if you really must be putting in these sensitive information, for example, banks, etc., make sure that you do your research on these companies. Most companies that have data requests, especially in the UK, something like banks, there's very strict regulatory practices for data storage. If this company, if a service provider doesn't advertise that it has these kind of protections, then you should be really wary about what you're putting into it, because data leaks will happen. They will continue to happen. Again, your list that you compiled is very interesting. I mean, there's a ton here. Google's in here because of a third party vendor. Google Ads was under, so Google's come under several threats this year from third-party vendors. TransUnion, the credit reference agency, they had a supply chain attack. It happens all of the time, so you can't be naive to think that it's not going to happen. But yeah, you just got to be incredibly wary about what you're putting into these services to make sure that you can best protect yourself as much as possible. I think that if you are serious about this and you do care, then looking into privacy solutions, it will be eye-opening. In almost every domain, there are privacy-focused and privacy-first solutions that help you protect your information. So yeah, that's really my thought on it. It's a tale as old as time itself with data leaks and things.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was just thinking about open banking, for example. This sort of new framework. I'm not sure if this is in the US or other places, but in the UK, there was a couple of years ago, there was this sort of big push and new technology about open banking, where you could, for example, be on Monzo app and be able to pull through your mortgage details from, I don't know, a different bank, and see sort of, balances and things like that. And as a user, I was thinking, I don't really trust this. I don't really trust that you're pulling in data from a different bank that you're not somehow going to abuse that. I'd
Mm.
rather silo it, if that makes sense. And it's interesting. I just pulled up some stats. Although technically some people may view it as it's been a success with something like the stats were, but I don't know, say, well, let me bring it up. I just had a quick look. Let me bring it up. Where is it? But the point being, something like 28 to 30% of the adult population sort of utilizing it. It's a vast majority who aren't. 70 to 72%, who don't trust that type of sharing of information, sharing of data. So I thought that's quite interesting, actually, when you sort of consider it. So people are maybe a little bit cautious, and that's a good thing. And I think, like you said, it's just we've got to be very mindful of what we're inputting into any centralized platform. Obviously, we're very much focused on privacy on device, and everything we're doing is sort of focused towards that. And actually, we haven't even talked about what we've launched yet, have we? So
we must. I think the next, because we won't be able to film a video tomorrow, but I think the next video that we film, we should actually do a demo of our latest product that we've released on the App Store, because it is hyper private. I mean, it's not just standard privacy stuff that you'd hear anywhere else. This is hyper private, like digital ownership. We don't know anything, and I think that's worth talking about, because as I said in my kind of previous set of statements, is that if you are concerned about this, and you should be cautious completely with every centralized solution that you use and what you're putting into it, there is a whole angle, a whole business, a whole industry focused on building private, self-sovereign systems as well. And I think if you are concerned about these things, it'll be a very interesting field to look into, the kind of products that exist within what you're using services for as well. And if you're a builder, I think there needs to be more work done in the private space, in the privacy space. So it's a great field to be in, especially in this day and age where everything is tracked, traced, recorded, leaked every which way.
Yeah, and accumulated to abuse and manipulate you in every way you can possibly imagine. But on a positive note, Will, we there's a doom gloom about data breach and about surveillance state and all the rest of it. The positive sort of takeaway is there are people who effectively, like us, fighting back by actually building solutions and technologies, and we would just want to get that message out there to say, look, 100%. Let's not be down and be, you might care about privacy, but you might not know, well, where do I turn? What do I do?
100%.
So, but just know that there are people building in this space who do care about it and want to try and sort of build solutions to, to, like you touched on, give people self-sovereignty, to take control back, and not just to give it all to Big Brother. So on that positive note, I think we'll wrap it up. Let us know what you think, guys, in the comments. We're going to share with you exactly what we've been doing. To keep tuned in, subscribe, put the bell notification on so you can obviously keep up to date with the latest videos. And like I said, drop a hello in the comments. It'd be great to hear what you've got to say, even if it's just hi. Absolutely. How you did. So there you go. Brilliant. All right, guys, take care for now. Cheers.